Ray Gordy stood in the hallway of Hitsville USA in 1965, listening to her husband's voice through the studio door. He was talking to Diana Ross the way he used to talk to Ray, and Ray understood right then that she'd already lost. Some of y'all remember Ray's Singleton Gordy, Berry's second wife, the woman who helped build Motown when it was just a dream. Ray had worked the phones, managed the office, held everything together while Berry chased his vision. And then Diana Ross walked in, and everything changed. Marriage meant something different in black communities in the 1960s. You stayed, you worked it out, you sacrificed because that's what black families did. Ray believed Berry when he said the business came first, but the marriage would last forever. Diana arrived at Motown in 1961 with the Supremes, 15 years old, from the Brewster Projects where dreams felt impossible. Ray watched these young women coming through Hitsville, teenagers wanting to be chosen, wanting to become stars. Ray wasn't worried at first, but Berry started spending more time with Diana. Extra rehearsals, longer sessions, special attention to her vocals, her potential. Ray told herself it was just business. That's what producers did. The studio sessions grew longer. Berry would stay late while Ray waited at home, dinner cold, children asleep. When he came home, he'd be excited, talking about Diana's voice, about how she could be the star that made Motown cross over. Ray would nod, would try to share his excitement. She just didn't realize the cost would be her marriage. Berry fell in love with potential. He'd done it with Ray once, made her feel like she mattered. Now he was doing it with Diana. The same intensity, the same focus. Diana was young enough for Berry's daughter, 16, 17, 18. Berry was in his 30s, married, a father, but he wasn't looking at Diana like a daughter. Ray could see it, the way his face changed when Diana walked into a room, the way he prioritized Diana's needs over Ray's. The breaking point came in that hallway. Ray heard Berry's voice through the studio door, heard the tenderness reserved for someone you love, and she understood she wasn't fighting for her husband's attention anymore. She was mourning a marriage that had already ended. What Ray didn't know yet was how completely Berry had already chosen, how thoroughly he'd restructured Motown around Diana. That revelation was coming, and it would show Ray this wasn't just about a marriage ending. It was about a system that required casualties so one star could shine. Diana Ross was 21 in 1964 when the Supremes had their first #1. Some of y'all had children that age. Some remember being that young, navigating a world that gave you no power. That's what Diana was, a black woman from the projects, handed an opportunity most girls never got, and she took it. Wouldn't you have? Diana didn't have power at Motown. Berry had power. White executives had power. Radio programmers had power. Diana had talent, ambition, and a mentor who believed in her. That's not the same as power. Diana grew up in Brewster, Douglas. Her mother worked as a domestic. Her father wasn't around. Diana learned nobody was going to save her. If she wanted a different life, she had to create it. Music was her path. Berry made Diana lead singer in 1963, pushed Florence aside, though Florence had the stronger voice. That hurt Florence, hurt Mary, and Diana said yes, because what was her alternative? Say no and watch the opportunity go to someone else? Stay in the projects? Diana took what was offered because refusing felt like choosing poverty. When you were a young black woman in 1963 with limited options, you don't make choices based on abstract ethics. You make choices based on survival. Diana chose herself. That's not villainy, that's survival. Berry was married when he started giving Diana special attention. Diana knew. Everyone knew. And Diana accepted it because Berry's attention meant better songs, better production, better promotion. Berry's attention meant success. Did Diana understand this might hurt Berry's wife? Probably. Did she feel guilty? Maybe. Diana was focused on escaping poverty, on becoming somebody. Ray's pain wasn't Diana's responsibility. Diana didn't make vows to Ray. Berry did. Some of y'all think Diana should have refused Berry's attention, should have said no to the coaching, the studio time, the special treatment. But put yourself there. You're 20, poor, talented but unknown, and the most powerful man in black music is offering to make you a star. You really think you'd say no? Ray watched her husband fall in love with someone young enough to be his daughter. Ray had every right to be hurt, but Ray's pain wasn't Diana's fault. Ray's pain was Berry's responsibility. Berry broke his vows. Berry chose Diana over his family. Berry had the power. Was Diana selfish? Yes. Ambitious? Absolutely. But was she a villain? No. She was a young woman making choices within a system that gave her few options. A system where saying no to powerful men meant losing opportunities. Diana's talent was real. She worked hard, and she benefited from Berry's favoritism. Both things are true. Most people offered a chance to escape poverty wouldn't refuse it because of moral complications. That's human nature. That's survival. Berry Gordy had a choice in 1964. Stay faithful to his wife or pursue Diana Ross. Berry chose Diana, chose ambition, chose the fantasy. And every person hurt has a right to their anger, but that anger should be directed at Berry. He had the power. He made the choice. Ray deserved better, deserved fidelity, deserved respect. Ray had been there from the beginning, had worked without pay, had believed in Berry when Motown was just a dream. Berry repaid that loyalty by falling in love with someone else. Berry was 35 when Diana was 16. That age gap matters. That power differential matters. Berry was Diana's boss, her mentor, her gateway to success. Berry let a professional relationship become romantic. That's an abuse of power. Berry bears full responsibility. Berry Gordy was a genius, built the most successful black-owned business in American history, created opportunities for black artists when doors were closed. All of that is true. And Berry also destroyed his family to pursue a woman who worked for him. Both truths coexist. Berry filed for divorce in 1964, after 8 years of marriage, after 2 children, after Ray sacrificed everything. Berry chose Diana, and Ray had to accept it. The divorce was quiet, no scandal. Ray maintained her dignity, didn't trash Berry in the press, just signed the papers and stepped out of the spotlight. That's what black women did in 1964, protected black men's reputations, even when those men destroyed their lives. Berry didn't just choose Diana over Ray. Berry restructured Motown around Diana's elevation, gave her the best songs, best producers, most promotion. Other artists suffered. Florence got pushed aside. Brenda Holloway couldn't get support. Mary Wells left feeling undervalued. The machinery that elevated Diana required other women to be diminished. Berry built that machinery. Here's what makes it tragic. Berry and Diana never married. All that sacrifice, all that pain, and they never even committed permanently. Berry went on to other relationships. Diana married other men. The love affair that destroyed Ray's marriage wasn't strong enough to last. Ray lost everything for a relationship that wasn't forever. Berry's in his 90s now, still celebrated as a visionary, and he earned that, built something extraordinary. But Berry also left wreckage. Ray's broken marriage, his children's disrupted family, Florence's destroyed career. That wreckage is Berry's legacy too. If anyone should apologize, it's Berry. Berry should acknowledge Ray's pain, should admit he handled his marriage poorly. Diana was young, powerless, navigating a system she didn't design. Berry was the adult with power. Berry bears the moral responsibility. Ray Singleton Gordy died in 2016 at 81. Her obituary mentioned she was Berry's second wife, mentioned her work at Motown, but most people had never heard of her. Ray died in obscurity, while Diana remained one of the most famous women in the world. Diana is still performing, still celebrated, still touring at 80. And Diana deserves recognition. Diana Ross is a legend because she earned it. But the system that elevated Diana required casualties, required some women to fail so one could succeed, required Ray's marriage to end so Berry could focus on Diana, required Florence's career destroyed so Diana could be the clear star, required talented women suppressed so Diana wouldn't face competition. Diana didn't create that system. The music industry created it. Diana just navigated the system she was born into. That's human. That's understandable. Berry enforced that system at Motown, made it clear there would be one breakout female star. When Berry chose Diana, he condemned every other woman to subsidiary status. That was Berry's choice, Berry's system, Berry's casualties. Ray's erasure from Motown history wasn't accidental. It was systematic, necessary for the mythology Berry and Diana built. The narrative required Diana's elevation to seem natural, inevitable, purely about talent. Acknowledging Ray meant Berry's personal choices shaped professional decisions. The mythology required Ray's invisibility. But Ray's invisibility doesn't mean she didn't matter. Ray helped build Motown. Ray's work made the company possible. Ray's sacrifice enabled Berry to focus on his vision. Ray deserves to be remembered for that. Some of y'all lived through this, watched men destroy families for younger women, watched women get erased by people they helped elevate. You understand why Ray's story matters. It's the story of every woman who built something and watched someone else receive the credit. Diana will be celebrated long after she's gone. Museums will preserve her gowns. Documentaries will analyze her impact. Children will learn her name. And Diana earned that through talent and work. But Diana's rise was built on a foundation that included other people's pain. Ray's pain, Florence's pain. Acknowledging that doesn't diminish Diana's achievement. It just makes the story complete. Ray deserved better, deserved fidelity, deserved recognition. Berry deserved to be held accountable. Berry's genius doesn't excuse his failures as a husband. Diana deserved to have her humanity recognized, deserved to be seen as a young woman navigating impossible choices rather than a villain. The real villain isn't a person, it's the system, the machinery that requires casualties, the industry that tells black women there's only room for one star. That system destroyed Ray's marriage, Florence's career, and countless women's dreams. Ray's story teaches us to look for casualties, to ask who paid the price for the success we celebrate, to remember that behind every icon's rise, there might be someone's fall. Ray deserved to be remembered. Diana deserves to be celebrated. Berry deserves to be held accountable. The system deserves to be challenged. All of these can be true simultaneously. If you lived through the Motown era and remember when these stories unfolded, if you understand the complications behind the success we celebrate, drop your thoughts below.